what is going through your head like right before and during the take?
I get very, very nervous.
Oh, really?
Uh, yeah, incredibly nervous.
Oh
And
no, I'm
so,
sorry to have given that to you. And welcome to episode number 3 of the Comedy and Film Artist Podcast. I am your host, Benjamin Vomastic, and today we are joined by Henry J., who plays Sean in the upcoming film Hometown Summer. How are you doing,
hello.
Henry?
I'm doing well today. How are you?
Good, good, thank you. Had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we powered through. And, we got to get this podcast out.
Let's
So,
go.
yeah. So, just start things out. What got you into acting? Why acting? Uh, why do you
So,
love it?
I tell this story a lot actually. I was always like a sports kid growing up, so I played soccer for I think like 14 years and then
Okay.
football after that. But my best friend was an actor, and once we got into high school, he's like, "Hey, join the drama club with me." And I was like, whatever. I don't have anything going on like Thursday from like 2:30 to 3:30." So I started doing there was a play that we did for all the health classes each year, and I played a heroin addict. That was like my first role, which is very intense for like a freshman in high school.
Yeah.
Very, very intense. But then we had a guest director come in, and she worked with us to do like monologues that we had. And I guess she just like loved me so much that she was like, you have to audition for the fall play. Like, you have to.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Robin Hood.
Okay.
And I ended up being Robin Hood in Robin Hood as my first like show.
Oh shit. Okay.
And I got to act with my best friend. He was like my best friend in Robin Hood. He was Will Scarlet.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like so much fun. I got to fight with swords. I got to like have a British accent, which in retrospect, it was so bad. The accent is so bad, but it was still so fun. And like, I didn't know that that was a possibility or something that I could do. And ever since then, I've just been in love with it.
Hell yeah. No, that's your freshman year. You did.
That was no, so that was my junior year. So like
Oh
freshman and sophomore was just like me doing the drama club, but then
yeah.
yeah, she came in my end of my sophomore year and told me to try out for like the next um like school year's fall play. And so that one was Robin Hood. Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah. So you got a real knack for playing drug addicts. I mean, I didn't know you had
Yeah,
that
again,
heroin addict experience.
I don't know how it happened, but I keep playing drug addicts where like again I played the heroin addict and then I was in Hatful of Rain and I was mother, so I sold heroin as well as definitely did heroin. I don't know. I guess it's just something I do. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. I don't, any prior experience?
Uh, for legal reasons, no. Legal reasons,
Yeah.
no.
Good shit though. And then so then you went on to Michigan State University for 4 years. And
Yep.
what were some of the productions you did there, both on screen and on stage?
Yeah, so I obviously like my biggest claim was Benedict in Much Ado About Nothing. That was my senior year, directed by Derek McNish, and it was so much fun. Again, it was kind of a return for me almost to Robin Hood, where I'm that like kind of smart ass, very quick witted, kind of on your feet type of character.
Yeah.
And I always loved playing those archetypes. And then I did Spring Awakening, which was very daunting because I don't claim to be much of a singer,
Uh-huh.
but luckily I didn't have to do much singing because I was four of the eight adult male characters, and
Oh,
that was
what?
just super fun because I got to like play different adult males in the same show and got to like mess around with
Yeah.
character acting.
Is that something that like does that happen? I've outside of like some like silly like absurdist like YouTube content, I've
Yeah.
never like seen like something on stage where someone is playing multiple characters.
Yeah, so there's a ton of productions that call for that. Like there are, I'm blanking on some of the names, but I had a character acting class, and so we went through, and there's one show about, oh God, it's about a twin sisters in like Minnesota or something, but they're never seen on stage at the same time, and they're played by the same actor, and
Okay.
then it's like a small cohort. So to tell like a story, they'll have like the same actor, or in some cases, it's one of those like on like Broadway, you'll have like Newsies or what was a recent example? But for like Newsies, you have a character who comes in to say like one line, who's
Mhm.
also like all like the background dancer, but then they'll also like play one of the villains in another scene.
Uh-huh.
So it's one of those things of the better you are at character acting, the less the audience notices or pays
Yeah.
attention to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess now that I think about it, don't they do that in Wizard of Oz with like the
Yeah.
ant and the Wicked Witch? But that's on purpose though, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
one's on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool stuff. Yeah. And what about on screen? I believe you did the Strange Happenings.
Oh,
I'm
yeah. Yeah.
blanking on
Yeah. Yeah, I did Strange Happenings, and it has a full title. It's like Strange Happenings at uh the Williamston Inn. I can't remember if that's
mhm,
what like the official title is. It hasn't been released yet. It's still in the editing phase, but that one's fun because I got to play a cop,
mhm.
and I was really excited about that one because I don't know if you watch or have watched The Boys by chance.
I'm not a big television show guy, but
Okay,
I know that's like one of like the critically acclaimed shows of this
yeah.
century. Yeah.
And I'm a big Jensen Ackles fan, and
Mhm.
he has a very distinct voice as Soldier Boy. And so for the audition, I was like, I want to kind of like make my voice close to that. And
Mhm.
so I mimicked, not like mimicked, but like took inspiration from his voice in The
Mhm.
Boys to make my cop character. And it was just so much fun. It was so fun to like have that kind of voice. And then I did do a short film called Promises, Promises, which that one premiered at the Atlanta Film Festival, and that was my sophomore year of college. And that one was very different from what I do. Again, evident by what I told you, I tend to play like drug addicts and like villains and like the more outrageous characters.
Mhm.
But this one, I was acting with my girlfriend, and it was just like a 7 minute like romantic uh, short film, and so it was very like grounded and very just like focused on the relationship, less about
Mhm.
like the character, which was fun in its own right. But you know, I love just being like the weird ass characters running around.
Yeah. No, those seem like the fun ones to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so I got to ask about improv. I
Mhm.
assume this is just not a thing at all on stage, unless I'm mistaken. I assume you got to stick pretty close to the script.
Yeah, I think a lot of the moments that are improvised will come from blocking or
Mm-hmm.
stage interaction, less
Right. Right.
like the
Yeah.
lines themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like, what you mean by that? Like, in case people aren't familiar, like that would just mean like gestures and whatnot. Correct.
Yeah, gestures, like interacting with your scene partner. I know that
Yeah.
like a lot of that, I think what's funny is a lot of that or improvising happens in the rehearsal space because
Mhm.
unlike the film space where you might have like the hour or two before you shoot to like
Yeah.
practice it,
Right. Right.
like you have months to rehearse it. And so like you might find a bit that's completely improvised and not written anywhere, wasn't directed at all. You just thought of it. And the really hard part is to make it still feel like that after
Mhm.
repeating that for like 2 months.
Yeah.
Because like in film, when you're like improvising with the scene partner, it's like that was the moment. That was like the
Mhm.
special
Mhm.
connection. But
Yeah.
like on stage, it's like now I came up with a really funny bit and we all love it and we want to keep it, but how do I keep that fresh energy for the audience 2 months later?
Yeah, and I'm that sounds like quite the challenge, and I feel like also I could be off, but I feel like you might not always remember exactly what you said or what was done because it's just
Yes.
so natural and so spontaneous.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that's where you can have good scene partners who can help to maybe not get the exact words and phrases that you
Mhm.
used, but
Yeah.
more so the energy and what you were carrying into the scene. And they can help to like play off of that. So you're like, oh yeah, like this is what the vibe of our
Yeah.
improv was.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think just something like yeah, it's like with on stage, like you get like all of that extra preparation, but also like there is like the aspect on stage where it's like you get one take, like when you're like
Yeah.
doing the and like film is so different because like you'll get like a few takes, sometimes a lot more of a different scene, and it's like you might get five takes of a scene and you might get five things that are completely different. You might do like
Yeah.
for example, like we might have done like 2-3 as written and then 2 to 3 improv, and it's like it's funny. It's something that like the average audience member might not even realize, but like
Hmm.
the way the film is cut together, like based on like what takes you can get, if you used if everything was the same and you just had two different editors cut the film together with no input at all from the director, you just gave everything to the editor, like you'll get two very different movies.
Yeah, which I think is kind of cool. I think that's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. And so, okay, so you did get like practice improv, like in the preparation for on stage. Did you ever take any improv classes, or were there like sections within classes about improv, or like what does your journey with improv look like?
Yeah, so at Michigan State, there's a professor named Sarah Hendrickson who is
Mm-hmm.
amazing. She is fantastically talented, and she runs the improv class.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took both improv one and then like the business of improvisation, which was to like not just have you do improv, but like understand why improv works and how the rules work because despite it being like improv, there are like certain rules to it.
Mm-hmm.
And Sarah is so fantastic about teaching us what those like rules are. And so I think I was incredibly privileged to have her in that space because otherwise I don't think I would have ever gotten experience from it
Mm-hmm.
because I just think you just have to have that space. Because when you're first starting out in improv, it is so bad. Like
Mm-hmm.
I kid you not, the scenes and the vibes are just so bad, and you get nowhere in the scene. And I
Mm-hmm.
think kind of what you were saying about having like all these different takes and why the improv takes can feel so different from one another
Mm-hmm.
is just from the fact of like you can't push for like a direction in
Mm-hmm.
an improv scene and
Right.
all the beginning improv scenes are just like you trying to push a narrative and push like a plot and it's so bad but yeah I needed that space to like fuck around and find out
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
before
absolutely.
actually getting paid in a film to like improvise.
Yeah, no, I mean you do such a great job with it, and I'm
Oh,
just
thank
so
you.
impressed with how fast you are, and just like how you like don't trip up over yourself, and like you come with like just like such great ideas in an improv take. So like
Mm,
just to give some reference, like I think I'm a huge proponent of improv and comedy. I mean, I've only ever done comedy, so I can't speak for the other genres. Not that they're not that there would be anything wrong with that, but just speaking
Yeah.
from like a comedic perspective, like I think that there's just so much beauty and magic that you get in movies from improv. Like I know, like Judd Apatow and Adam McKay, like they're known for like Judd Apatow made like the 40-Year-Old Virgin and Knocked Up, and This Is 40, and Adam McKay made like the Anchorman movies and the other guys. Big collaborator with Will Ferrell, but anyways, like they're big proponents of improv as well, and I definitely like got my appreciation for improv and like understood, in my view, the importance of it through taking Judd Apatow's masterclass. Because like in those movies, like so many of everyone's favorite moments were improv. Like if you go and read the screenplay, like that is just not in there, or like the dialogue's just completely different. And I think there's just so much beauty in just like how natural an improv scene like looks on screen.
Yeah.
And I'm really just like wondering like what is going through your head like before and yeah, like right before and during an improv takes. Like when we did in Hometown Summer, like we would always finish off with one or two improv takes in a scene if it called for it. Like what is going through your head like right before and during the take?
I get very, very nervous.
Oh, really?
Uh, yeah, incredibly nervous.
Oh
And
no, I'm
so
sorry to have given that to
no, no,
you.
no, 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 no. It's like it's just kind of how my body reacts to that kind of stuff. But what I focus on is like just kind of emptying my mind and just kind of like entering with a blank slate because I've realized that for me, my best improv has been entirely relying on my scene partner. And for better or for worse, if you get a bad scene partner, it feels bad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I find that again, Sarah always drilled in us to find a connection first and focus on relationship over plot lines. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna clear my mind. I'm gonna go in with a completely blank slate. And I'm just gonna go in there and I'm gonna listen to every word they say. I'm gonna pay attention to the way their eyes move and to the way their mouth moves. Because I that's kind of what I do in my daily life. I am very responsive to people's what they say, for
Mm-hmm.
better or for worse. And so I was like, might as well lean into that with improv and just focus on how I can use their words to inspire my next line.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's kind of that's all I kind of focus on. Again, I try and make my mind as blank as possible and just go in there as like a little canvas
Mm-hmm.
to paint something onto. Um, yeah, I think that's kind of how I approach it.
Yeah, no, that was well said. I mean, that's really interesting to hear and really puts perspective into why these improv scenes are so natural and like why they
Hmm.
flow so well. Like when everyone is in sync and you get a good improv take, it's like it really provides great
Yeah,
insight why it looks the way it does.
yeah.
Yeah, so going on a different front in acting, what are like some challenges that the average audience member might not know, might not realize when it comes to acting, or challenges and just also just like other aspects of acting that just like your run of the mill lover of film like doesn't even know about because they've never been in these shoes before.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is because I always talk with my like parents whenever they like watch a movie or like my friends and they watch
Mm-hmm.
a movie they're not as like involved as I am, and
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest thing for me is an actor's familiarity with the space that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
I think that can become so apparent so fast if they're either the actor isn't good enough at making the space immediately feel like they've been living there the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get like a scene that's in a character's like bedroom, I think
Mm-hmm.
that's like the most intimate space that someone can be filmed in. Because that's like, if you took a camera and like fully panned around my room,
Yeah.
every angle you would have, I'd have like a different feeling or reaction tied to that. Of like, oh no, don't film that part. Oh yeah, like that
Yeah.
part's like well made. I made my bed today, whatever.
Yeah.
That you can, that's very apparent in film when I like watch a character and they're like going through a space. I'm like, like, oh, I recently watched Alien Covenant with
Mhm.
Michael Fassbender, and oh my God, is he an amazing actor? But there's like a scene where he's just going through the ship and going through his daily tasks,
Mhm.
and it's so minute, but he is so good at carrying the weight of so habitual that your body is acting before you think.
Mhm.
And so like when he's like moving the vials or adjusting the dials, whatever, a nice little rhyme, that he carries it with like a sense of like, oh yeah, he's been doing this for years at this point.
Mhm.
Whereas if any of that was to feel not as weighted or not as genuine, the audience would be able to pick up one, why it was bad, but two, not why. They would understand how it was bad, but not why it was bad.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think it's those minute details that are important for the actor to work on to make sure that the audience never has that moment of that was kind of bad, but I just maybe they're just a bad actor. Like I don't know why it was bad. It's like, well, it's because of this.
Yeah, yeah, no, that is so interesting because that's something that I never would have thought of. But like when you say it, it is like blatantly obvious.
Yeah,
I've done so little acting, and like the role I played like in Hometown Summer, like I was driving in my car, so like I
yeah,
like had that. But like when I'm like thinking about it now, like if I was driving someone else's car, like that could have like posed a like challenge
yeah.
that like I never would have thought of.
Because then you're paying more attention to like the wheel or like if you're trying to adjust something on the dashboard, your
Yeah,
brain is thinking about it more than how your body would naturally move. Like if I was in my car and I had to like say the direction was to like adjust the volume and then change the AC. Easy. But if I'm in
yeah.
like a new car or one of those that has like the touch screen, I'm gonna
Yeah.
look so out of place, and like it's gonna be very apparent that that's not my car unless I rehearse that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is pretty mind blowing. Like, yeah, I never thought of that's a really good one. And I also like really connect with like what you said about like you'll know like if the actor's doing it wrong, like the audience, like the average audience member will notice that it is wrong, but then
Yeah,
they can't like really like
yeah,
explain. I feel like it's like when I was like first like completely new to this space, and like I was like before we even cast anyone in my first film, I remember like just like acting out a scene with my cousin, and it was like we were like both horrible, and it was like, what's the fix? And it's like I don't know. Like the only thing I can think of is I can tell both of us are acting, and I feel like that's like a
yeah,
very like common
yep,
thing that like someone not in the space would say is like I can tell you're
yes,
acting, but you really got
yeah,
to like break it. Like they won't know like
yep,
why though, and that's such a great point to bring up. And I've noticed that like, and I've started to be more, for lack of a better term, critical. Like when I watch films now, because I got this from. Are you familiar with Aaron Sorkin?
yeah,
Yeah, he wrote A Few Good Men, The Social Network,
hmm,
Molly's Game, so and so on.
yeah,
I've listened to a lot of what he has had to say on screenwriting, and he said from here on out to like become a better screenwriter, like what you got to do is like when you watch something and you find yourself getting bored or you say I didn't like that, or whatever the case may be that like gets a negative reaction, like don't like throw up some snarky comment, like look at it and say why am I getting bored,
yeah,
why does this feel out of left field, and really sit with it and think about like what the fix should be. And I've noticed that that has helped me out so much as a screenwriter. I
hmm,
mean, I have so far to go and whatnot, but like just that alone has just like holy shit, like that's like eureka.
Yeah,
And
it's
I'm
a
wondering, do you get that like when you're like watching film, like if you see something that's wrong, do you like sit there and like say like why is this like acting wrong or whatever the case
yeah.
may be?
I do that. I do that a lot of the time now, and that's why it's been difficult for me to either like enjoy the same movies as like my friends, or
Mhm.
like luckily my partner is in the same space that I am, and so whenever we come back from a movie we're always analyzing the acting.
Mhm.
And so like one movie that we saw recently was called Strange Darling,
I have
which
not seen that one yet, but I've heard nothing but good things.
it's so weird. It is so incredibly weird. And I was like, I know damn well I would not like this if both the main guy and the main girl were not putting as much as they were putting into it.
Mhm.
Like, they are both really good actors because they made the stakes feel believable despite being heightened. Whereas
Mhm.
I think a lot of the time the reason it's fun to watch a B horror movie is because the actors are dog and they're like, you can tell that they don't believe in the stakes. You can tell that it's like not real. And
Yeah.
they're like, oh my god, don't stab me. And you're like,
Yeah.
who would say that?
Yeah.
And that's like a very extreme example, but there are like other movies, especially dramas, where it's like, and me as an actor, I'm always like, was that a take that they were proud of? And I think that's also a good thing to recognize is that, like, and hopefully people are watching Hometown Summer with the same vibes that, like, we're all people trying to make art at the end of the
Yeah.
day. I have a different feeling for people who are doing it for a corporate greed. But if you're making a movie and you truly believe in it, I'm never going to be like, oh, that was dog shit. I'm going to be like,
Yeah.
oh, I can tell that some of these takes were rushed, or maybe they were losing daylight, or maybe like the circumstances just were not there for them.
Yeah.
And I fully understand that because there are moments when I'm acting and I'm like, God, that was some really bad acting. And I think everyone, despite some of the greats, like I've never seen Gary Oldman like have a bad acting take, but there are like some other actors where I'm like, yeah, that take was definitely not a good one, and
Yeah.
that's just kind of the nature of it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, I really connect with what you said about like film, like art films, or maybe throwing everything in because like art film is definitely like a like I guess genre of film, but
Yeah.
like film where like I think you know what I mean, like where like it's made out of passion.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I connect so well with what you said. Like I personally don't feel comfortable like publicly critiquing a film that like I know like the writer, the director, the actors, whatever combination, like really put their heart into this. But I honestly don't have a problem saying I hated this movie that was made for $100 million and
Yes.
was
Yeah. Me too.
yeah
Because they
I
should not be allowed to fuck up. If you are
yeah
putting that much money into it, like there are so many recent blockbusters that have come out that have been horrible flops, and I'm like, if
yeah
you're spending more than like 15 million on it,
yeah
you don't have an excuse.
yeah for sure yeah. And also just what you said, like I do watch movies differently now, but and I've heard a lot of people say that like they think that it can really like ruin movies for you when you like know all of like the secrets
Yeah,
behind like what the recipe is and everything. But I
yeah,
honestly have not found that. If
really.
anything, I found that I appreciate movies more and I enjoy them more
Mm,
because I like will get into spots and I'll say like I know like the general idea of like what needs to happen, but I have no idea how this writer is going to do
hmm
that.
hmm
And like when it's like done really well, like I feel a much stronger appreciation. I know I do
Mm.
I don't want to give any like spoilers, but like I was like when I was like watching Fast Times at Ridgemont High, there was like a when I was rewatching it, like there was a moment in it where like something crazy happened, and I was like, "There's no way to fix this. There isn't." And like I didn't remember what happened. I said, "This is going to be like a downturn in like the overall like quality of the film because they're going to find some crazy convenient way to
MacGuffin.
fix this."
Yeah.
And then they did something I would have never thought of. If you gave me
Hmm.
like a month to say fix this scene, I would have never thought of it. And when the payoff came, it paid off. And I was like,
Hmm.
wow. But I know
Yeah.
like the first time I watched that, like before I got into like creating my own art, like seeing that, it was probably just like, yeah, that's cool. Like I'm having a good time watching this
Yeah.
movie. That's all cool. But then I like saw that and I was like, wow, that
Yeah.
writer, holy shit.
Yeah. It definitely helps you appreciate like higher tier of like filmmaking.
Hmm.
I think again, it's kind of like a double-edged sword where it's like you have that energy of, oh yeah, this is cool, and you're like watching it with your friends for both like a really good film and like a bad film, where you're just
Hmm.
kind of like, oh yeah, that was a fun time. But
Hmm.
now it's like, I think the biggest thing that takes me out is when I know, when I can picture how it was shot from the perspective of the actor. I think that's when I know that my mind is clicked out of the movie
Hmm.
because I'll be like, oh, so if they were shooting the shot, where would the lighting be on me if I'm right there and I'm looking
Yeah,
there? Where's the camera? And then I'm like, oh no, I'm out of the movie. I'm out of everything.
yeah. In like a movie that you really love, that you see for the first time, do you still find yourself though like getting lost in it if it's done well enough?
Uh, wait, say it again?
Like when you see a movie for the first time, like
Yeah,
nowadays, like as an actor,
yeah.
and you really love it, like they're just doing everything great. Do you still
Hmm.
find yourself getting lost in it?
Yes. Yeah, I do, but then I think something about it I'll like hyper focus on, and then I
Okay.
realize I've been like paying attention to that for like the last like 5 minutes of the movie,
Uh huh.
and it's kind of a curse because I'm like, wow, that was some nice lighting, and then I'm like focused. Like I was watching High Life the other day, and there was a really cool aerial shot, and I
Hmm.
was like, oh, that looked really nice, and then I was focusing on like the composition of that and how cool it would be, and then all of a sudden I'm 10 minutes later into the film, they're having like an intense dialogue and I have no idea what was being said.
Gotcha. Okay, that I mean that's unfortunate. I don't
Yeah.
personally find myself getting in that. Wow. Uh, I wish I had something more helpful to say.
No, I just like getting like, I don't know, maybe it's that like narcissistic actor ego where I'm like, how would that look if it was me, you know? And you're
Yeah.
like, and you're imagining what what shooting that shot would be like with you as the actor.
Uh,
And I kind of go off into my own little like fantasy land, and then I have to go, nope, watching a movie, go back, go
yeah.
back.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah. So what's next on your plate? You just wrapped Hometown Summer a little bit over a month ago. What do you have next up?
Well, next up, I'm going to be a teaching artist at the Rev Theater in Auburn, New York, with my partner. So that should
All
be
right.
a ton of fun. I'll basically be going around to a bunch of different schools in the area and uh, basically being a teaching artist for like that group of kids for like one day, and then going on to another school after that.
All right.
Um,
This is like
which will,
elementary, middle, high school, or a mix.
yeah, basically a mix.
Uh huh.
Is mostly focused on like elementary to middle school, but I think there are some like high schoolers thrown in there. But
Hmm.
yeah, so primarily that, and then once I'm done with that contract, it'll be moving to New York and hopefully booking some jobs as an actor.
Hell yeah! I know that's what New York and L.A. are like probably the big two, right?
Yep,
Little bit
yeah,
of
they're still the big
Chicago,
two. Yeah, Chicago and
some
Atlanta.
Atlanta. Yeah.
Yeah, they've
Okay.
started to rise up as industries.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
very daunting, but very exciting.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, exciting times. I mean, fortune favors the bold.
Yeah, right. Are you? What's next on your plate? Got another movie in the making?
Yeah, I'm currently outlining a screenplay. Um, I'm doing it differently this time. The first two screenplays I wrote were not very outline driven. There was an outline,
Mm,
but it was very basic
yeah.
and left a lot of just like left a lot of gave myself too much room where I'm not
Mm,
experienced enough as a screenwriter. Where it was like, all right, we got this written, and now we need to rewrite it 20 times because of
yeah.
we weren't prepared enough.
Mm,
And this time, I'm really going through and really outlining each scene
okay.
to a T, like what
Yeah.
needs to how does it need to start, how does it need to end, and then some things like
Hmm.
in the middle. So I'm doing that. I'm hoping to have that outline completely finished at some point in October, and then start writing in November. Hopefully, have the first draft by Christmas.
Awesome.
We'll see with that, and then of course I'm in the editing room with Brendan right now on
Yeah.
Hometown Summer.
I'm so
So
excited.
yeah, I'm really pumped too. I mean, he's doing a really great job as he always does. Yeah, really looking forward to. I was actually just before we got on the call, I was just watching a couple of scenes he cut together and
Yeah, is it
just
looking
giving some
good?
notes. Yeah, looking
Let's
really good.
go.
Yeah, no, everyone looks beautiful on camera, and
Let's
yeah,
go.
yeah. But yeah, and then just wrapping it up, just a few questions I'm asking everyone. If there was one writer and or director that you could work with, who would it be?
Oh, Ari Aster.
Okay,
Yeah, I
Hereditary
love,
was that's one of
yeah.
it's up there for modern horror movies for me.
I can't talk enough about Hereditary. It's the movie I've seen the most and talked about the most and holds a lot of holds a lot
You
of
got there, yeah,
memories for me. So yeah,
yeah.
definitely Ari Aster.
That was a very a lot of depth for a horror movie.
Yes,
Very dramatic.
loved
Very
it.
yeah. I very much enjoyed it. Yeah. Uh, One performer, so actor,
Oh
actress
God,
that you could work with.
I've thought about this a lot, and uh, I don't know. I always go between like, do I want to work with like a classical like god actor before they're like done, or do I want to like experience acting with like a younger like demographic? And obviously, like when I was younger, I always was like Ian McKellen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Loved that because I feel like I would just learn so much.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously Christian Bale is like one of my favorite actors, but I'm just like
He's
I would
up
be
there for me
worried
too.
that there'd be like a wall between us because he'd be like in character, but like at the same time you could also learn a lot from that too.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
or like again, I recently went down like a Michael Fassbender rabbit hole, and I love him, but also like Daniel Radcliffe has just
Okay.
a beautiful work ethic
Yeah.
and has that like younger experience that like I could like
Mm-hmm.
learn a lot about.
Yeah. He's been doing a lot on stage recently.
He has, and
Yeah.
I think that's magnificent.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah.
like obviously Gary Oldman. I just think Gary Oldman is so god tier.
Mm.
But yeah, any of those names that I mentioned that I
Okay.
just rambled
Yeah.
off, I'd be
For
more than
sure. For
delighted to
sure.
act with.
And then last one, your top five comedy movies of all time.
Top five comedy movies? Oh God, I'd
I
have to
feel
like
like you're going to be the first guest to name one I haven't seen.
name one you haven't seen. That's that's a high honor. I'd have to like I'd have to like pull up my letterbox to like see because I haven't. Okay, let's see. What are some comedy movies? Because I just watch like the weirdest shit that my best friend like recommends me to watch.
Uh,
Um, like okay, this is gonna sound. I feel like you may have seen this. Have you ever seen Evil Bong?
no, I have not. Okay,
You've never
no,
seen Evil Bong?
no.
Okay,
It sounds like a horror comedy.
it's not. It's. I guess it tried to be. it was made in like the early 90s or some shit, and it's about a bong that when you smoke out of it, it like steals your soul.
Oh, okay.
And it was so successful, I guess, that they made like four more movies.
Wow,
And
I'm surprised I haven't
so
heard of this.
yeah, they made a crossover with another one called The Ginger Dead Man,
Okay,
which
like
it
they
was
did with
Evil Bong.
Freddy and Jason.
Yeah, exactly. So it's Evil
Yeah.
Bong versus Ginger Dead Man. And then my favorite, uh, there's Evil Bong 2 Bong Island, which is a parody of Kong Island. So
Uh,
it's King Bong, and it's a giant like monkey bong. It's absurd. It's so stupid and horrible, but I love it has like a very a sweet spot in my heart. So I would say like any of those ones as comedies. And then I don't know, just like throwing out. I grew up on Pineapple Express as
okay.
a kid, so that one
That's
like
yeah. I think James Franco in that is one of the best performances I've ever seen, and I don't
yeah,
say that lightly.
it's such a fun movie. I think it's a good one of balancing like the drama with
Hmm.
the comedy.
Hmm.
And then just because I'm just because I'm basic, the Pick of Destiny from like Tenacious D, I
Hmm.
think is just
Okay.
like just because I can't go wrong with Jack Black.
Yeah, he's very
And
good.
then yeah, those are the only ones that have sparked up in my mind of me being like, yeah, I laughed out loud to that
Yeah.
one. Yeah, so I think I'll probably have to end my list with
Oh
those.
no!
I again, I don't like watch. Okay,
You can't
never
say
mind.
anything basic.
My
Yeah.
my favorite like play that's like a comedy that was turned into a movie is Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead with
I've never seen that
Gary.
one.
It's with Gary Oldman and Tim Roth, and
Uh,
it's about the players from. It's not Hamlet, is it? I think it might be Hamlet. But it's like about the thespians during like that time, about what they do when the play is done, and so it's them like struggling with like existential crises of being
mhm.
like, what is our purpose? What are we supposed to do? And then Hamlet comes
Yeah.
in, and then they're like filling their roles again. It's so funny.
That actually
It's
does sound like a pretty fun movie.
it's really fun. I highly recommend watching it. It was my favorite growing up. It's my favorite play. And then what's one more? What's one more that I always talk about or love? I don't even know.
It's just one. You can do it.
It's just one. It's just one. Let's see. Okay, you know what? For the cringiest reasons possible, and only because I saw it on HBO Max the other day. It's called Vampires Suck. It's
Okay,
a
I've seen bits and pieces. It's one of
okay.
those that like I just won't watch
Yeah, don't
because
watch it.
yeah.
It's dog. It's actually so bad. But I watched that. Okay, so my sister was a big Twilight fan, like
Mhm.
big Twilight fan,
Yeah.
and so I watched that movie like out of spite, so that I could like, if she'd ever try and quote it, I would use like the vampire suck quote to
Yeah.
like fuck her up, basically.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, that movie is so ass, but like I quote the fucking like I know what you are. Say it out loud. And it's like Abercrombie model. And he's like, wait, what? And it's like it's the stupidest fucking jokes ever. And it's so early 2000s. But I
Yeah.
don't know. It's just
It's yeah, that was quite the era. Hollywood apparently loved the scary movie.
oh yeah. And so they're like, we're gonna make a bajillion of those about
I
every
actually
IP.
liked the. I liked all of the scary movies. I
Aren't there like 20 of them?
no, there's only four. There number
There's only
five.
four.
There's only four, but I mean they made superhero movie, disaster
Oh
movie, epic
yeah.
movie, Meet the Spartans, Vampires Suck. I don't know if I said disaster movie already.
Yeah, another disaster. We throw it in
D-
there.
date movie. They had all those.
Yeah.
I really liked all the scary movies. I mean, they're very
Oh,
stupid, but I think they're well done.
an unironically fun comedy. I think is it called Movie 43? Is that what the
Yeah, yeah, that I know exactly. I saw that
yeah.
movie. It
Yeah.
has like it has like a uh, mind-blowingly strong cast, and
Yes.
they
Yes. And I'm like,
they
who the
did with
fuck
that.
signed on for this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't say I recommend that one.
I recommend it over Vampire Suck. Oh, that's why I was like, you know what?
Oh,
I'll change
okay.
Vampire Suck for movie
Yeah.
43.
Yeah. But on that note, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for
It was a
having
lot of
me.
fun. And yeah, until next time.
All right, until next
Ciao.
time. Thank you. Bye bye.